Is this thing on? I could never get enough volume.
You finally said it. I was wondering when you were going to say that.
It's another episode of the Hillbilly broadcast. We have the smallest population in studio for this episode that we've ever had, which is 2. Last time we had, how many do we have?
5?
We had your mom, your dad, we had Kane and Mariah, John, me, and you. We had 7 people in here gathered around one mic, screaming at the top of their lungs.
It was fun, though.
It was fun.
It was really fun.
It was fun. And actually, as we're recording this one, let's crank this up a little bit. As we're recording this one, that one hasn't been released yet.
Okay.
So we're trying to release them every Monday. So the magic of podcasting is you can record stuff and upload it and schedule it to come out later. So
that's good.
It's not gonna, excuse me, I just belched. Let's get to some of the comments from episode 1. You were a small part of episode 1. Me and Kane and John.
I was like the last little bit of it.
Yeah.
I wasn't really in on it. I was actually in the tub whenever this was going on, just chilling. And Mariah was coming in, and she was like, "Hey, oh, you're just chillaxing in here." I was enjoying myself while she was in here listening to you guys just bellering. I think she was watching The Office.
She started off watching The Office.
Okay.
And then she wanted nothing to do with what we were doing. I think until she saw how much fun we were having. Then we're like, "Would you like to come over now?" And she's like, "Yeah, whatever." So she came in after the break. And joined in. It was fun.
That's one thing. Okay, so us girls, we are very happy being along the sidelines. But when we see the guys having fun, at least for me, I have more fun like jumping in there with the guys. I don't know. That's another topic for another time. I think sometimes guys are more fun than girls.
So you're saying that you're speaking for all women everywhere?
Yes. Yes.
You're a bold woman.
That's exactly why. I'm not going to say what I was just going to say.
It's probably good.
Yeah.
Because we'd have to call out the delay count and cut her down.
No, it wasn't going to be anything bad. It was just a memory I don't want to think about. Anyways.
We all have those.
Yes.
Let's get to some of the comments from episode 1. Katie. Used to be Katie Turner. Which is, I hate to tell you this, Katie. When I'm talking about you and your name comes up to anyone, I know you're married, you have a lovely marriage. It's just like she's always Katie Turner to me.
Yes.
You know,
it's always the Turner girls.
It's the Turner girls.
Every time we like start talking about our fun experiences, like we're getting ready to talk about now, it's always the Turner girls.
Katie said, "So many great memories at Clinton Camp with you all," and then she tagged Phil, John, and Kanan. "I feel like we trained you all well." To Julie and Katia Turner, "Oh, the potty gas stories." Oh, jeez. So me and John, when we were kids,
okay.
I think I coined this term when I was a small child. We weren't allowed to say fart because fart's a nasty word.
Oh, really?
So my dad asked me one time, said, "Do you have to potty? Or is it gas?" And so I put the 2 words together, therefore coining potty gas.
Oh, my.
Which was the term for fart from then on.
Potty gas. That doesn't even sound like something you would say.
It's one of those memories.
That is your, like, church good boy talk. Like, now you're just like, fart, 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 fart.
Farty, fart, fart.
You're like, smell the farts, mother. Smell the farts.
Pretty much familiar with Brad Stein. You know what we mean. She said, "Except you boys were bad, we just got away with it. Remember when Julie washed up by the water spigot down by the dining hall?" I don't remember that, but that description sounds hilarious. Let's see. We had another one down here. Katia, "You guys were bad, but it was never malicious." I miss the old camp tramping days. The young folks today will never get their noses out of their phones long enough to know the kind of joy we had. Bye, George. George, did we have fun? There's no way around that. We had a blast.
Did you read the other comment on there?
There's another comment. Oh, this is from one Melissa Sparks. Good times. That camp will never be the same without us there. That's a bit arrogant, don't you think?
No, it will not. Because we actually got some messages from some people saying how much they missed us at that camp later on, like the last 5 years. And they said how it was so much fun and they wished we would come back and stuff like that. So.
Okay, so you know why I left?
Are we going to have this discussion now?
I'll give you a hint.
I think we should wait until your brother's here for that.
I'll wait.
Was it your brother? Yes.
Yeah, John was in on this.
Absolutely.
I'll give you a small hint, and we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
I was threatened
with the law.
With court.
Yes.
And I thought, I'm not threatened with that any other time.
Especially when we did nothing wrong.
Well, in some people's eyes. But anyway.
No, we did nothing.
Anyhow.
But let's continue that story later.
Moving on. That's another story for another time.
Yes. That's a big story we need to get into. With your mom, I think, needs to be in on this.
Oh, boy. This could get really big.
No, it
really
would be
bad.
Good. It would be very good.
Really bad. This could get a little bit bitter.
Yeah.
It seemed like there was something else I wanted to hit. So let's talk about you for a little bit. Give me a little bit about your background. What kind of church did you come from? Like, did you come from? Well, obviously, I met you at Clinton Camp.
Yeah. So Clinton Camp, I think you told them, it's an interstate.
Yeah, we covered that in episode 1.
It's like a tri-state, kind of like a holiness camp. Like people from all.
Explain what a holiness camp is. You have to assume, because I'm sure some of our listeners, in fact, probably the majority of them, know us from places like this, so they're going to be familiar with it.
Yeah.
Other people have no idea what you're talking about when you say holiness camp.
Okay, so kind of like church camp where you go there and you listen to special speakers and they have special songs and then they have a function for the youth throughout the day, and then they have like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then you have services 5 times out of the day. You basically are nonstop going to church the entire time you're there.
Yeah, we covered that in episode 1. We made it in Canada and talked about it.
Okay, so they're a little familiar with that.
Yes, a little bit.
While we were there, you get to know other people from other states that you would not usually get to meet up with, because they'd have little cabins and everybody would stay there. They'd have a snack bar. They'd have a dining room, dining hall setting. Everybody would just get their food, and it was a really good time of fellowship. Like, I honestly enjoyed the fellowship.
People sometimes come in as far as North Carolina. They come in. Some people coming in from out in the Midwest.
There were some people from Florida too. I thought
there was. That's kind of who it was.
My mom said that there were some people she recognized from a college down that way.
Yeah.
No.
Hosound Bible College.
We're going to say the names of things? I didn't know if we were saying the names. It wasn't anything bad.
Listen, I have no desire to make anyone mad or throw anybody under the bus. This is just, we're talking about stuff we grew up with, and so this is part of it.
Okay.
So, my rule of thumb is, if I'm going to tell a story that's not flattering, I'll leave names out of it.
Okay.
If somebody wants to know the name, shoot me a text. I'll tell you who it was.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so you grew up in the same general circles that I did.
I wouldn't say general circles. It was the same idea. Like, your church organization was very similar to my church organization. But if we interlapped or we were happened to know somebody, it was usually because of marriage. Like, it was only time. We only knew who Clinton Camp was because of a gentleman whose sister his sister-in-law was a part of that Clinton Camp.
You want me to cut the name out, or you want to keep it going?
Probably should cut it out.
909?
What do you want to call it?
The church you were raised in. Just say that.
The church I was raised in. Okay.
So, the group that you were with, which I'm sure at some point
someone's going to put 2 and 2 together,
and maybe we will at some point. But anyways, the group you were with was much more exclusive.
Yeah.
Much more lock it down, boys. Nobody getting in or out of this sucker.
Okay. So, with the church that I was raised in, there was was the idea that they did not want to associate with other holiness groups just because they were worried that it would confuse the youth.
And if we're talking about, for someone that might not be familiar, when we say holiness church, we're not talking Pentecostal, because that was a big no-no in the churches we grew up in.
Right.
Not Pentecostal. A holiness church to us meant, normally was defined by teaching a second work of grace. So you got saved, then you got sanctified.
Like they were two works.
Yeah, two works.
Right.
Which then takes the root of sin. This is how it's taught, out to where you don't want to sin anymore. Then it's also defined a lot by the looks. You can tell a lot of the people by seeing them. The women always wore long dresses. The men usually always had sleeves down below the men and women usually always had sleeves down below their elbows. Women didn't cut their hair. Men didn't have beards usually. There's no makeup, no jewelry, not even wedding bands, so on and so forth. So that's what we're talking about when we say holiness church. So go ahead. We're talking about how, they were exclusive. They were...
Okay, so we weren't allowed to really associate with other churches because they were afraid, like, the standards that the church I was a part of would not be the same standards that another church was part of. So we just kind of were too...
And by standards...
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of church lingo that goes into this. Nobody else going...
Yeah, true.
What they mean when they say standards is how you dress, how you live.
Yes.
Like, we weren't allowed to have TV.
Right. No TV, no movies whatsoever. We weren't even allowed to have videos on our phones. We could not videotape anything with our phones.
Right.
The most we were allowed to have were pictures, and we could have audio recordings. That was it. You could never combine the two, which would make video. So we were... You had to have them in separate form. So, yeah.
It was a gnat's eyelash above being Amish.
Oh.
It really was. It was that close.
I don't know so much.
The theology wasn't the same.
No, and nor was the dress.
Close.
Nor was the dress.
But it was that far.
But the exclusivity, or whatever you want to call it.
There were those among us who were more so than us.
That's true. That is true.
And I'm telling you, there was. It's close. So anyhow, we're not here to rag on that for this episode. What we're talking about is a little bit of your background, and you were an MK, a missionary kid. What was, give me some ins and outs of this.
I was a missionary kid as well as a preacher's kid for about 19 years of my life.
So your dad pastored a church while you were younger, and then you all went to foreign missions.
Right.
Okay. Do you remember when you went to mission field?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
What age were you?
I was 7. When my dad started to pastor, I was, I think, like 4. Because my brother was born, and then we moved to Arizona.
So your dad was preaching in church, you were 4 years old?
Yes.
And so from Arizona, you went where?
From Arizona, we went to Papua New Guinea.
To Papua New Guinea. New Guinea is not one of those places that jumps off the map at you.
Nope.
Why did you decide to go there? Why did your parents decide to go there?
They were really needing missionaries out that way. And my dad said that he was feeling like he needed to be a missionary. God was calling him. And
he felt like New Guinea was the spot.
Well, they actually got a phone call from somewhere. Because my dad, like, our family is not at all racist. So we just love people of all color.
He didn't care what skin color they were.
Yes, but he did say, he said, God has called me to the black person, to the black people. And
that's what he said?
Yes.
As long as that felt.
That's how he felt.
So you guys wound up
to this day, my dad will still say, he said,
wound up in New Guinea. There's the break music. We're going to break. We'll be right back on Hillbilly Broadcasts. We're back from break on Hillbilly Broadcasts. Me and Miss at the table today, and we were just talking about what it's like to be not so much a pastor's child, but a missionary kid. And you were telling us how you all decided to go to Papua New Guinea when you were how old again?
I was 7, I think, is whenever.
So 7 years old, and
Yeah.
you wound up in Papua New Guinea.
So my dad was feeling the call to be a missionary, and my mom was at the same time.
Okay.
And they didn't tell each other. They were just kind of like waiting to see what God was going to do and lead. And my dad got a phone call from the missionary. I don't know what they
It's
was.
like a board, like a
Yes, the mission
a
board.
governing body type of thing.
He was in charge of the missionary. I think he was like the missionary superintendent. That's what it was.
Okay.
He was in charge of all the missionaries.
And so next thing you know,
And-
your happy little hindens on a plane to Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, basically, we go from having squirrels in our freezers to pigs in the ground for food.
Not really a whole lot of difference when you think about it.
No, and in fact, it was an upgrade.
Actually, probably was.
It was.
Squirrel and pig. There's no comparison. So, you find yourself in New Guinea. Mm-hmm. All right. So, what was life like there? I mean, let's not. I'm not. Like, I'm not really talking about the theology of it. I'm just talking about the everyday life of being an American little gal, and you find yourself in New Guinea. What was it like?
It was a lot of rain, like in my childhood brain. It was a lot of mud, a lot of bumpy roads.
How much rain?
Like every afternoon it would rain.
Every afternoon?
Yep. Just about. Like it got to the point because we were living in, I think it was like a rainforest, if I'm not mistaken. It was very, very like green. And
So was there a rainy season, or we're talking every single afternoon?
it was just about every single afternoon. It was some of the greenest, most the darkest dirt you've ever seen. Like it was a farmer's dreamland. There were gardens everywhere. It was like we never ran out of food.
I've left some pretty dark dirt in the commode before, but so when we're talking rain, how much rain are we talking? I mean,
I
we
would say
talking like floods, or is this
there
just,
were times that the water would be very high. We'd have to be really worried about the flooding and stuff because it would wash out the bridges that we had to go over to go to town. Anytime we had to go, like wash your clothes, you had to be worried about if you planted your gardens too close to the river, they'd be washed out. All the trails, there was no, like you had to worry about that. It would also ruin your water too. If you were collecting water, it would ruin like the streams and stuff. It would mess up a lot of
more
things.
rain would ruin your water?
Yep, because your wells and stuff would get contaminated because all the water would flood into it and it wouldn't be like able to be purified.
Oh, so you're talking like a well, water backs up.
No, yeah, it would.
Okay, so just like
it would just get dirty and stuff, and it was
basically
not
a sewer
clean.
back up getting in your drinking
No,
water.
well, I mean, when you think about
Run
it,
off, it's backing up and you're drinking the water. Your drinking water's not pure anymore.
because if you poop upstream,
Right.
it goes downstream to where we're living.
No, that's
so.
always been my experience.
Yeah.
And,
So yeah, you had to be worried about a lot of things.
I've heard that there are sections of New Guinea that are more westernized,
Yeah.
and I've heard that there are sections that are not.
Absolutely.
What kind of an area? Where were you guys?
So we were in a few different places. Where we started out was a place called Lombo, and that was at a mission field that someone else had already been in, but they were retired and now in the States again. But they had a little house there, and it was in a village. And we had like gardens and stuff. It was 5.5 hours to town. It was an hour and a half away from any other white people because we were the only white people for the longest time. Then we did have another missionary family, the McCaslins, that lived in the house down below is what we called it because we were the Sister Hook's house is who used to live there.
Okay.
She was a little old lady. She would live there for years.
Did you guys have like a
and
compound?
years. No, so we basically had you know how you picture like your neighbors? You had
Something
houses.
like David Koresh or something?
No,
You're saying it wasn't like that?
Where everything is all blocked off and everything.
Jim Jones? Nothing
No, I mean we did have fences and stuff that.
like that? So was it kind of a compound?
No,
It
no.
wasn't.
We had fences and stuff where you could but we had dogs too that would protect us from being robbed, which did happen.
Okay. That's valid.
So we had a German Shepherd. His name was Wiley Coyote. He was bred just like Seneca.
Wiley Cody.
He didn't have the saddle like on top of her, like Seneca has, but he has.
She's wearing a saddle?
The black, whatever they call that.
For those that are listening, my German Shepherd's laying under the table. And we're pausing in between sentences to look at her. She's actually not been feeling well lately, so.
Yeah. She's feeling better.
She's feeling better now.
She's
We took her
feeling so
camping
good.
and she hated it because it was cold.
Yes, you do good.
So you guys lived in the, what you're saying, not so developed area.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
We did have, my dad had a workshop where we could work on the cars. It was like a little junkyard too. We kept all the parts. We needed to fix up the cars. There was a welding spot. We did the oil changes. We had a mechanic. His name was Rara. His wife was Rachel. They were some of the sweetest people.
Rara and Rachel?
Rara.
Try saying those two names
I know.
5 times real fast.
Yeah, they had some.
Wow.
They had some really nice kids, and we grew up with them.
Okay. So, when people hear about missionaries, it depends. Some people either don't think anything at all, or they think of Indiana Jones. You know, ooh, it's getting spooky in here, and we're going through cannibals to spread the word of the Lord.
That's pretty good.
What was spooky about it?
There was a lot of tribal wars that.
Besides your David Koresh compound.
We did not have a David Koresh compound. It was nothing like that. So, I think some of the scariest stuff was my dad. He traveled a lot to start churches and get the pastors established and help them build the churches. He'd give them a sign that he had painted with his own hands.
Wait, we're talking about traveling in a country that doesn't have pavement, right?
Oh yeah. So my dad would go and actually build with bamboo,
So how
the
long
walls, and he would be gone for days at a time trying to get things. He'd dedicate the church and sign on it. I said the name again, but it's okay.
2316.
Probably 2315 actually.
Okay, go ahead.
But yeah.
Thank God for delay. Go ahead.
So, Dad would be gone for a few days at a time, and my mom was really protecting us and taking care of us, the 3 kids. And we really didn't. We depended a lot on the people there in Papua New Guinea to protect us, because.
So I know zero about anything outside of the county I live in West Virginia. Was there, did you have native tribes warring against each other? Did you have cannibals and
All the time.
witch doctors and all that stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. I know we did have cannibals at about 10 to 15 minutes or miles. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but it was away from us at Wallawanda. It was a place called Kolapengia, and that basically means in the language there where they eat people. And so my dad, whenever
By
he
the
would
way,
go.
Where They Eat People will be playing at the Mercury Lounge on Saturday. Saturday the 7th
You
of July.
keep doing that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So my dad, he would go there, and if you smoked, they wouldn't eat you. They would not eat you. They were
So if I was your dad, I'd be smoking like a horse.
So my dad would buy cigarettes and light it and just hold it. You talk about temptation.
I'd have 2 of them up my nose and the rest of. Did you ever see that guy on YouTube that smoked a whole pack at once?
No.
I'd be walking into that village like that guy. He just had a whole pack of cigarettes.
Oh
it was
my
his
gosh.
comedy act, and he would just he'd have just smoke billowing
out of his body. Oh my god. No. So Dad said he would light a cigarette.
All kind of places.
Light a cigarette, and it would be all around him, and so he smelled like cigarette smoke, and they would not eat him because smoking makes your skin taste awful. You would smell like nicotine, and they did not like to eat that.
Well, I just want to say I thank goodness there are no American cannibals, because we smoke everything we eat.
How do you know there's not American?
Well, there's a few, but What's the first thing? You go kill a pig, you throw it on a smoker.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If you could smoke it while it's still alive, that just takes a step out of the process.
But what do you smoke it with? Like applewood smoke?
We don't care.
Jack Daniel's barrel chips.
I smoked a pork loin with exhaust fumes one time, and it was delicious.
Mom, he needs an intervention.
Then you take the antifreeze. It makes a wonderful dipping sauce.
Last time we had that, we had Bell's palsy. What was his name?
Oh, I can't remember.
Oh, goodness. But
anyways,
yeah, I love that movie.
We're coming to the close.
Oh, goodness, already?
The end of life's journey.
The end is near, and so I face the final curtain.
We're about out of time.
Okay.
I said we make this a two-parter.
Okay, I like it.
And we'll close it there. Last time I said I'm going to go around the table for any closing statements. You're the only other one sitting at the table for me, or with me. Mm-hmm. Do you have any final statements? Anything you want to leave the people with? You good?
I'm good.
You cool?
See you around the next time.
I love you all. We'll see you next time on Hillbilly Broadcast.